Hey guys, how's it going? Seth here. In this video, we're going to be going through a CRM system called Hivemind. So Hivemind is something I heard about a year ago, and it wasn't until recently that I was able to start diving into it and really figuring out what is this thing all about? What exactly does it do? What does it not do? And it's actually one of the more interesting CRM systems I've found among land investors, because most CRM systems are assuming that the land investor wants to send out direct mail as their primary marketing medium, which is totally cool. Obviously, that's worked for a lot of years, and that's what most people start with. Hivemind is a little bit different. They actually go about this kind of backwards, at least compared to those other CRMs. Hivemind doesn't do direct mail at all. People who are using Hivemind, the way they typically go about it is they pull a list and they skip trace it to pull out phone numbers and email addresses, and you can do all that from within Hivemind, or you can pull your list from another source and skip trace it with another source and then put it in Hivemind. But really, the first step that most people are doing within Hivemind is sending out text messages. And they actually have a really cool system where you can create this automated workflow so that it does a lot of the stuff for you on autopilot once you have the phone numbers and or the email addresses imported into Hivemind. As for the email addresses, you can also send out emails. You could have emails be your first step before sending texts, or you could do it while you're sending texts. You can even do like Google ads and stuff like that with Hivemind, which I haven't even gotten into yet, but apparently that's part of what you can use it for. And once you get a lead to respond to you through your text messaging efforts, then you can bring the conversation further along and start finding out where their property is and getting all that information that way. But really, you don't even think about direct mail with Hivemind until you've exhausted every other option. And the reason being, direct mail, when you look at all the different ways you can market to people, direct mail is ultimately the most expensive way to do it. And if it works, that's totally fine. But if you're working in a market where things are getting a lot more competitive, or if you're not seeing the response rates you want to see, or you just don't want to spend so much money up front and you'd rather exhaust your other options before you go there, that's really what Hivemind is for. And Hivemind can do a ton of stuff, again, with the exception of direct mail. Hivemind also does not get into any kind of seller financing in terms of like creating amortization schedules or collecting payments. That's not really something that you use Hivemind for. Hivemind can create buying and selling websites really quickly and really easily, and you can manage all that stuff from within your Hivemind account. And as I think you'll find in this demo that I recorded with Daniel Martinez, who is basically the architect behind Hivemind, Daniel knows this stuff really well. He's done these demos many, many times. So he's going to really kind of fly through this really quickly. And it's kind of easy to get lost in the midst of it. But I think the main takeaway that I hope you'll get out of it is how streamlined and quick and easy you can handle text messaging through this platform. This is certainly not the only place that you can handle text campaigns, but you really can pull in like almost every step of the process right through Hivemind, but you don't have to. Say if you did want to get your list from someplace else or a skip trace it someplace else, that's something that you can totally handle as well if you'd rather do it somewhere else for some reason. We're just going to go through it, and I'm going to put timestamps in this video to kind of, block off different areas of the video if you want to skip around and sort of see certain parts of what Hivemind can do. And also, please keep in mind, this is not a super ultra comprehensive overview of everything Hivemind can do. Even as long as this video is, I think to really understand and grasp all it can do, you'd have to sign up for an account and start playing around with it yourself. The way Hivemind works in terms of the pricing is you have to pay a monthly fee to be a Hivemind user, and then you pay on a per use basis for several other things within it. Like, for example, if you download lists, if you skip trace them for all of the text messages that you send out, that's like add-ons for all of the activity you do. And the price gets cheaper on a per use basis if you sign up for one of the more expensive plans. I'm going to just flip the camera around and I'm going to hit play on this recording, and you can just kind of get a basic overview for how Hivemind works. We do have an affiliate relationship with Hivemind. I'm not saying Hivemind is the one you're supposed to go with, but if you feel inclined to check them out, feel free to use the affiliate link, and I'll leave that up to you. I'm also going to finish this out with some final thoughts after this little demo is done. So stick around for that, or feel free to fast forward to the end for that as well if you're interested. Talk to you soon. Daniel, I will let you take it away.
So thank you, Seth. I appreciate you let me take stage a little bit and let me show what this amazing thing can do, because it's helped me in my business and so many people in other businesses as well accelerate. So I appreciate you letting us on. But I'm Daniel, CEO of Hivemind. I run the operations of Hivemind, everything you have. I'm like everything to do with the software. My partner Anthony does the real estate side, but I do everything to do with the software. So that's what I'm here today to do. So I'm going to do this quick. It takes about 20, 25 minutes, but like I said, he's going to break it apart so you can watch this in bite-sized information. So this is our dashboard. Our dashboard kind of shows all your KPIs. You can assign lead values. So let's say your average lead, your average closed deal is $5,000 or $10,000. You can assign a lead value. When it hits a certain stage, it's going to assign a lead value to that lead, and you can kind of see a breakdown of where your leads are in according to your lead flow. So right here we have new lead responded, need attention, offer sent, pictures, deal closed, all that stuff. So you can kind of see task. Your team might come into this part and see what daily tasks they might have. As you can see, this is kind of old, 182 days, but you can see pending tasks, all tasks. And this kind of shows like your overview of like if you're using Google ads, Facebook ads, how many people you need to follow up with, tasks that are involved, where your current flow is. You can change your time days to see like quarterly, annually, all that good stuff. As far as here. So it's kind of like an overview of the dashboard. And it kind of gives you like an overview of your system and account of where everything is.
Daniel, maybe one way to kind of start it, because I know a lot of people who are going to be watching this are coming at this from the land investing business model.
Sure.
Like that's what they're doing. And Hivemind is not made just for that group, although a lot of people who do use it are land investors.
Yes.
And I know with the land investing business, and also just looking at other land investing CRMs out there, they all kind of do a different thing. Some of them are like very integrated with the direct mail process and lead tracking, whereas other ones don't do that at all. Like they focus on other things. And so part of the challenge of figuring out the right CRM is understanding what does the CRM even do and what does it not do at all? So if we kind of look at that first marketing bucket of like direct mail, for example, or texting or ringless voicemail or email, like all that stuff. For example, direct mail. Does Hivemind do anything with direct mail? And if so, what does it do?
So it's more of like direct mail. What do you put in? What do you put in your direct mail? Well, you should put a website. You should put a tracking phone number to track that campaign, and then you should put like your business address, maybe a Google. Check me out on Google, all that good stuff. So let's kind of go down. If you use direct mail. Websites. So we have websites. What's cool about websites is we have pre-built websites. So this is our account that everybody gets. Let me go to. So I'm working out of like a demo account to kind of show you stuff that we can do. And this is kind of what everybody gets when they come in. So we have a motivated land seller landing page. I'm gonna open it up and you can kind of get a feel for it. It's customizable. It's drag and drop features. It's really easy to mess with. Let me open it up. So this one's kind of like our lead intake. We use this exact funnel for Google ads. So we have PPC ads. We put our logo up here and we have a custom form. Hey, what property are you doing? 123 Main Street. And you can put your website address on your direct mail. That way, if they don't want to go in and call you, they can go in through this. So some people might put a credibility site. Some people might do like a lead intake site. So this is kind of like our lead intake site that we use for PPC. Let's say it's in Henry County. They kind of go through the steps. So it's like a step-by-step, one question at a time. Every time they answer a question, it goes through. And then we set up automation on the back end whenever this is completed. So it's kind of like our PPC intake side. Then we have different versions of that too that you can see. This is like our credibility side you can see. Let me open it up. As you can see, we have different land pages. All these are copyable. Wait, where's the other one? There we go. That's the one. So we have different like dumbed down versions, complicated versions. You can kind of go as crazy as you want with it. I have plenty of clients that use this template. So this is kind of like our sell property credibility side. So like if you're if you have all your properties listed on here and you want to sell it to your buyers list, hey, check out our inventory. These are all our properties. This is all customizable. The form intake, because we always want to get more information for our visitors, properties, frequently asked questions. You can customize this. As you can see, the backside of it is 6 pages, 5 pages, and you can copy this pretty easily and make different setups. But we're always trying to collect people's information. So you have a simple form. When people submit the form, they get email and text automations on the back end. So this is our website side of it. So it's really, really, whether you want, and it's unlimited website. So if you want, if you're doing PPC ads and you want just an intake form, it's really easy to just put the logo in, edit the survey that's already there, or use the one we already have and just run it. Like I said, what we use is literally we give it to every client that comes in. There's the buy property side. We even have down, if most people have Linktree that costs $10 a month or something like that, we have a Linktree template that you don't have to use Linktree anymore. It's already pre-built, custom made, plug in your details and plug it into your social media. So now we're really trying to save you costs on all your different types of social media content you might do, is all going to be pretty much outsourced to here. So this is our website side. Phone numbers, really, really simple to get a phone number. Once you get your account, literally go to settings, phone numbers, pick what area you want to target. So some people might get, if they're doing, they're targeting Arizona or Florida, they might get a phone number for Arizona, they might get a phone number for Florida. And then you put your phone number into your direct mail campaign, and that's how you try coming in. Then you can do automations on the back end, which I'll cover in a minute, of when people call the Florida number, you can set up automations for people calling the Florida number. You can set up automations for people calling the certain county, and thanks for calling this number in Phoenix, Maricopa County, properties we buy. And you can make specific messages for people calling different numbers, and you can track all that. Really cool.
A couple of quick questions on that. So how much does it cost to add a new phone number? And if somebody wants to join Hivemind, but they already have a phone number somewhere else, how hard is it to migrate that phone number to Hivemind?
Phone numbers are so tricky. So if you're not doing direct mail and if you have phone numbers ready, I would keep your numbers, because numbers are so important. You can port numbers into here, but it takes up to 6 weeks, and that's 6 weeks in process, and it can take a long time. So if you have numbers, I recommend keeping them. If you're doing new campaigns, this is where this comes in. I would run a new campaign through this new number and kind of separate it. When you, especially with direct mail, you have mail that people just stick on their fridge for 6 months and then call you. So numbers are so important when it comes to direct mail. So I would not give up your numbers. I would import your numbers, because I don't want to have that lag time of porting your numbers 100%.
Gotcha.
So this is one of those things where it's individually based on you and how you want to run it. Like I said, I'm not going to tell you which way to go, but me personally, I would not give up my numbers in any way, shape, or form if I'm doing direct mail, and I would try and hold on to them forever.
Okay.
Just because if I'm running a campaign to them, I'm going to hold on to those.
Okay. And how much is it for a new number?
Numbers are $1 a month. All the phone system is usage based. So on our landing page, if you go down to right here, we have checked our telephony pricing. So our pricing is breaking down by whatever plan you're on. So you can see how much your calls inbound or outbound are, how much your texts inbound or outbound are, how much your messages and your voicemails are all inbound and outbound on. Mm-hmm. So this is total pricing per number per minute, talking, call recording. Okay. So if it's call tracking, if you're using CallRail, this can easily replace CallRail, because CallRail is just a call analytics number and forwarding. Mm-hmm. And we can do the same thing in here. Okay. When you get a number in here, you can set up call forwarding to your number, your team number, however you want to do it. And you can get numbers in any area code. So San Antonio's 210, and you get all the numbers for 210. And you can search pretty much every market. 678 is Atlanta. Search 678. 773 is Atlanta too. Or that's Chicago. I forget. So you can search different area codes pretty easily to find numbers. You can get as many numbers as you want, and kind of automate that lead intake side of it. So we covered websites for your mailer. We covered phone number for your mailer. One of the things that if you're a local business that's running a lot of local traffic to land, or if you want to make that credibility side of Google, Google is a great opportunity to get free leads. So a lot of people, they'll pay $1,000 a month or $10,000 a month at Google just to get high ranking. With stuff like this, you can integrate your website with, as long as you keep on getting Google reviews, you can automate that Google review process. and you click Google reviews. That way you get free organic traffic. So that's in our reputation side. So essentially go to Google, just Google My Business, create your business account with Google, and then you can connect it to Hivemind and essentially automate whenever a lead hits a certain stage, you can send out Google reviews and collect those Google reviews. So we do this ourselves. We're trying to be the best example of collecting Google reviews. Let me go straight to that screen. And then we have like a Google chat widget that we can put on any website using code and collect those Google reviews, and you can track your analytics. So I send out Google reviews in automation. As you can see, I think we have like 58 Google reviews right now, and we can send them out automatically. And then we can see how much we got 25 in the last 6 months. This year, we're down 34%. So you can get like some type of analytics based of Google reviews, and all this helps you get more organic SEO. Imagine, I think I did the analytics. We had like 1,400 people visit our website organically that we didn't pay for ads just in the last 3 months.
Yeah. Before we get too far, so going back to direct mail, does Hivemind have anything to do with direct mail, or do people just do their direct mail somewhere else? And then once that's done, then they kind of jump into Hivemind? Like, where does that come into this whole process, if at all?
100%. Max Maxwell, if everybody knows Max Maxwell, he created a system called the lead conveyor belt. What's the lead conveyor belt? The lead conveyor belt is that you run lists through different types of marketing campaigns, because you can always convert leads cheaper than direct mail, because direct mail is one of the most expensive marketing techniques. So I always recommend doing that, because Hivemind's the ability to run all those things. So what's first? Email. How much does email cost you? Free. I mean, you can use Google as a email provider and send 500 emails per day. Does anybody actually hit their emails when they skip trace a list? Very rarely. There's very few people that do that. So you can run your whole list through emails. Max Maxwell's thing is you kind of move it down price point. So emails are pretty much free. Run everything through emails. What's next cheapest? Texting. So we recommend our clients to text your land clients. Why? Because if you can reach people in, depending on your price point, at 3 cents or less, 2.5 cents per less, and get a deal off of it, you don't have to send 5 pieces of direct mail, because it's the 7 to 12 contacts. So you can reach out to people for literally 2 cents or less. 1,000 people is $20. Really, you can really stretch that.
Yeah.
So if you run your list through email, texting, RVM, then direct mail.
And RVM is ringless voicemail, right?
Ringless voicemail, yes. Yeah. So if you run your list through all those different types of strategies, anybody that doesn't, everybody likes to get contacted the way they like to get contacted. So if you hit them through email and no one responds, hit them through text, no one responds, hit them through RVM, no one responds, then you cold call them and they don't respond. Then you hit them with direct mail, there's a good chance they're going to respond, but you squeeze them all through the other paths that you could have closed those deals out of. Okay. So like everybody that uses direct mail, not saying direct mail is a bad thing to do, it's just you're going to spend a lot more money to get more deals that way. Yep. But if you run it through the lead conveyor belt and push it down that path, you might have opportunity to squeeze those deals before you even hit it with direct mail at a cheaper price point. Yeah.
So when a person gets to direct mail, is that something they do somewhere else, or is that done within Hivemind somehow?
We always have recommendations. We work with what's their?
I guess the short answer is it's not done within Hivemind, right?
It's not done within Hivemind.
Okay. So that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Our system is strictly texting, emailing, websites, all the automations, but you can create a campaign. So I'll cover campaigns in a second, but you can create a simple campaign. You run everybody through email, text, RVM, then cold call them. And then at that point, you can send out a Zapier webhook to put it to a spreadsheet. And when it reaches a certain point, send it to your direct mail company. That can easily be made pretty quickly. You can customize your campaigns, where we have clients that strictly do direct mail and they use this for their website and their phone number tracking. We have customers that strictly do texting and don't even do direct mail. And then we have customers that kind of do a variation of all three. So there's no wrong way to do it. It's just whatever works for you and your budget.
Yeah. For a lot of land investors who might be watching this, and they're probably just, they're used to learning this business the way most of us did, whereas direct mail is the first step and the only step, and that's it. And if people don't respond, you're done with them and you move on. And there was a time when I think that totally worked, and pretty much since forever, it's always been like the most expensive way to do it, but it worked and it was easy and it was just one thing and that's it. But, moving into this new world of
a new economy, higher competition, that kind of thing. It's sort of heading into this area. I don't want to say exactly like household selling because that's like 10 times more competitive, but it's moving into the realm where it's like those methods are becoming more and more relevant. And that's what they do. They start with this other, kind of like what Max Maxwell does. We're going through the lead conveyor belt and starting with the cheapest ways first. So if a land investor wants to pursue those strategies, which is something that most CRMs that I know of don't do at all. Like that's just not something they handle. That's kind of what Hivemind is for. It's kind of like going through this new era of marketing in terms of how land investors would do it. And so it's kind of just sort of reframing your mind in terms of what that process is supposed to look like. And in terms of what can be done with Hivemind, and Dan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you can basically do almost everything in terms of you can download your list from Hivemind. You can get it skip traced. You can upload it and do bulk text campaigns. You can do ringless voicemail drops. You can do emails. You can do websites. You can do pretty much everything except for direct mail. And that's when you would go to some other third-party service like Rocketprint or something like that. And I think in terms of all those steps I just talked about, in terms of getting your list, skip tracing that list, like for example, just the step of getting the list. Maybe you can show us that, Daniel, just so a person understands if they wanted to get their list from Hivemind, what does that look like? Because I think it's notably different than what the process looks like if you were to get it from a place like DataTree. Just the process of how you get that and count how many leads you're going to get before you download them. That's not really how Hivemind works. Right, Daniel?
Yeah. So like I said, we don't force any like one thing down people's throat. The only thing we recommend is like you have to use our system and our phone system. That's it. Anything else, you can use any outside provider. Like it doesn't affect me what you use. We're just providing resources if you don't know where to go. Mm-hmm. So like if you want to use DataTree, if you want to use ListSource, if you want to use our data source, our data provider, it's really up to you. We're not going to, we have no control of what you do and how you do it.
That's a really good, because I know some CRM systems do kind of force you to use whatever they give you. So
exactly. Yeah. So we have data skip tracing. You can literally iframes in the account. You can do buy a list, which is buy a list right here. Put your information in. Somebody will follow up with you and go through that process. It's really, really simple. It's internally in the system. Like I said, it's really like we try not to overcomplicate it. It's just in the sidebar. Yep. I kind of want to go over the automation side of it. I want to build up that lead conveyor belt visually right here and see how fast it takes. So this is automations. I'm going to create a workflow, and then we're going to hit start from scratch. Literally, I'm going to create it right in front of you. So let's say you do email first. You have all these little options to create different things. So send an email, plug in all your information, boom, 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 boom. We're going to create this real quick. All right. So first contact, as soon as you have into the campaign, it's going to run. Let's say you want to wait a day for a step. Wait 1 day. And then we're going to do a text. And you can use custom values. So let's say you have, hey, custom value, contact first name. So now you're actually using the first name. We are interested in property you own. So now we're making a custom message for thousands of people all at once for contact city. So, hey, Seth, we're interested in property you own in Phoenix. Hit save. Now we might wait a day after that. Wait 1 day. And then do a message pertaining to what we sent out yesterday. Hey, did you get our message yesterday? And then you can get pretty fun with it. So I did an interview with a client yesterday where what he'll do is he'll misspell a word on purpose. He might put an I. So people might have like the itch to correct you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're misspelling. And he'll misspell a word on purpose. And then he'll put that in on purpose. That way he'll get people to respond to him. So, hey, did you get my message yesterday? And then let's say you create a voicemail. We're going to wait 1 more day. And you want to create a voicemail that it's not going to let me do it, but I'll show you how to do it. So send a voicemail. I have to upload a file. So let's say you create a voicemail. Hey, this is Seth. I actually sent you a text the other day. I don't know if you got it. I think I texted you yesterday that you got it. We're looking for property in this area, and you can create a new voicemail for each area. And if you can give me a call back, I'd appreciate it. And then you actually looks like you're actually building out this whole campaign individually to them, but it's specific to everybody else. Then from there, you might want to wait one more day and then actually physically call them or have somebody on your team call them. So the voicemail should be there, but it won't let me save it because I'm not uploading anything. Then we're going to do a manual call. So now I have this whole campaign from email, text, voicemail, down to a manual call. And then from there, if it gets all the way down that far and they don't respond, then we're going to do a webhook to your direct mail company to make a list. So we create a webhook and boom, save it. It's not going to let me save it because I don't have a URL, but we create a webhook at the very end. And there's a simple campaign we made in 3 minutes that you can run 1,000 people through, and it's going to do it automatically every time. And it's one of those things where, like, when they respond, you can set up automations for if they respond to certain words. And this is all customizable based off of whatever you have up here. So like I run my business differently than what Seth can run his business. Seth runs business completely different from what Bob out in Phoenix does. So it gives you the customizability to kind of create your own little outcome, whatever you have in your head, and kind of create that path. And then the one thing about automation is, like, you're never done automating because you might have a new idea that pops up that you heard on a podcast. Like, oh, I need to incorporate that little technique and see if it works. And it's just kind of going crazy and creating endless opportunities. So once we have this campaign created, I'm going to call this outreach 1, save it. So I have outreach 1. And let's say you want to tweak it and try for a different market. One of the cool things is, let's say I want to do for a different market, outreach 1. I can then copy it and make outreach 2. And now you have 2 campaigns for two different markets. That easy.
And because you might be doing this in 2 different markets, again, going back to Hivemind, they make it really easy if you wanted to get a new local area code phone number for each of those markets, which, you know, if I'm right, is proven to get a better response rate just because people can see that, hey, you're local. Super easy to get those numbers and use those new numbers for those specific campaigns, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So we have unlimited contacts, where other CRMs that might limit you for how many contacts. It does list stacking too. So like if you upload multiple lists and the names match or address matches, you can stack those lists and see what comes up on multiple things. So how do you add people to that campaign? Well, let's pick the first 20 people. These are all fake people. You hit the robot, add to campaign. It might not show because it's not active. So let me go back. Bad demonstration. So you always want to make sure your campaign is active before it will show up on this. So outreach, they're both in draft mode. You see that? So we're going to go back in it. We're going to turn it on and publish, and then it will show up. So outreach 1 is now published. We're going to go back to contacts. And the reason why that's showing up is because this is the fake account, the dummy account. So we're going to hit those accounts, hit add to workflow. I can now search outreach, and there's outreach 1. And then you have the ability to send all at once if it's a smaller campaign. Add to a schedule time. So let's say you work at night and you want to set this campaign first thing in the morning. Hey, I can add a scheduled time, start this tomorrow at 8 a.m. And I have the ability to kind of schedule it out, or add in drip mode. So let's say I have 10,000 people I want to text across the next 30 days. I can do it all through add in drip mode. So I can create the action. I want it to start tomorrow, 8 a.m. And then 10,000 people, I want to text 100 people, or 100 campaign, 100 batches of 100. And then I can set up a campaign that, hey, it's going to run from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then I'll jump to the next day, Sunday to Saturday. And boom, that's how you reach 10,000 people on automation with a simple campaign you made in 2 minutes.
Other just like nuance things about Hivemind that might be different from other text campaign blasting services. So when it's, what is it called? The DNC list or DNC list. Like say if you skip trace a list, you get all the phone numbers. Some of them might be DNC numbers, like do not contact. You shouldn't be texting them.
Hivemind is not going to scrub that for you, right? You'd have to scrub that, get it out yourself, because it's not going to have a restriction in there to say, nope, you can't do that. So that's one thing to be aware of, correct?
Yes, 100%. And it's a good thing and a bad thing. So like other providers are like, hey, this is potential DNC. Like me, like personally, I don't care what if you're on DNC or not. I'm just going to text everybody. It's a risk I take personally. And it's a risk you can take on personally. A lot of people are scared to text because of the regulation, but like I think it's Charlie Munger or like where people are acting in fear, you should do the opposite. So people are not texting because of the regulation, so they're totally out from the market. So you should take advantage of that and just know that there could be potential risk from that, but it's always a risk that you got to manage. So what's one way that they track who you are? Well, you give them your information. Hey, I'm Seth Williams from Phoenix, Arizona. Here's my business address. Come see me. You know, it's one of those things where like if you give them all the information through texting before you even speak to them and verify who they are, you're probably going to get set up. And you can really sense people who are trying to set you up because they're asking specific questions. So gotcha. I learned this from Steve Trang because I learned this from him when he was texting, is that when people are like, oh, what company are you with? Well, we're direct land buyers. I'll capitalize direct, capitalize land L, and capitalize B. Well, direct land buyers is such a vague term, they're going to think that's your business name. Gotcha. And we don't put out our business name till we're sending those contracts. We verified who they are, the purchase price, all that stuff, and then we'll send them out who we are when we send out the contract, or seeing them in person. Gotcha. So it's one of those things where like we really try and verify before we get any pertinent information.
Gotcha. And if a person is concerned about that specifically, I know there are other places where you can download lists, skip trace them, and they have DNC scrubbers built into them, like Direct Skip, I know is one of them that does that. So you could just not get your list from Hivemind, get it from there instead, and then import it into Hivemind. And then you would sort of take care of that particular issue that way, right?
Yeah, there's free DNC scrubbers. Like I get texts all the time, like, where do you DNC scrub your list? And like I Google DNC scrubber and then I send them the Google search for DNC scrubber and then they can pick and choose. Yeah. Most of them are free.
Yeah, because you know, if I don't remember if you told me this or somebody else, but there are numbers out there that exist solely for the purpose of catching people like 100%. This. So that's just something to be aware of, that you don't want to just go willy-nilly texting everybody and giving them all your information and setting yourself up. So, yeah. And I know you sort of have a method of starting out. I don't know if it was you or whoever made this up, but you basically start out the conversation with, hey, is this first name? Yeah. And then because once they respond, then the carrier wall goes down. You can say whatever you want, but until they respond, there's certain words that you literally can't send through text, right?
Yeah, the carriers are getting smarter and it adapts every day. So like if you're doing a text campaign through us, our platform, or any other platform, and you see your deliverability go down, it's because you have to change your open message because the carriers are adapting. So like one day your message might just totally drop off and they're blocking it for whatever reason. So you really have to pay attention to your campaigns and KPIs because the carriers are adapting every day.
Just to go further on that. So what that means is, say if you have a message that says, hey, is this Daniel? ? And if you verbatim send that exact message like thousands of times, the carrier is going to recognize that and just stop delivering your messages, right? And you have to manually switch it up in order for it to be unique and keep going.
So you can pause your campaign and switch out your number, just delete the number. So the way carriers notify you is by keywords or frequency of opt-out. So if you text 10,000 people in 2 hours, which you have the ability to do, and as soon as 100 of them opt out, they're going to flag your number. So it's one of those things where like I like using drip mode to kind of meter that because it stretches out your time frame of when you're texting people. That way you can kind of get that better deliverability rate. That's why drip mode is so important, and it gives you the flexibility to do it, and you can automate it. So drip mode kind of gives you that flexibility to kind of stretch out your campaign to make sure you're not hitting that threshold to flag your number. And then if you change your message up every once in a while, and this is where you can copy that same campaign over and over again, change your open message and just run it again.
How would a person even know to opt out? Because like the first message you're sending is just, hey, is this Daniel? Question mark. Like, how would they
So,
know? Oh, this is from a list. I should reply stop and get out. Like, does it say something or how do they know?
so regulation is changing every day, and there's implementations about this happening around us. So in your account settings, business info, you have the ability to customize your message to reply stop when you're reaching out to a contact for the first time. We write, like, if you're above board and want to be above standard, you should have that on every message. That's what the law states. Like I said, we really don't police what you do and how you do it. It's really up to you. But you have the ability to kind of customize that message and reply stop to unsubscribe and all that stuff. So like even us, like whenever we hit list, we might hit it again from another account with another number. And I don't know, we kind of break the rules sometimes. We're rule breakers.
So it sounds like we're covering the texting, the list getting, the skip tracing, just that whole process, which, unless I'm wrong, it seems like that's kind of like the biggest use case for Hivemind that people use most often. Is that accurate? Or do people rely more on email or ringless voicemail more often?
So one of the key features that like is always overlooked, like I use some software, but like one of the things that happens is like it's automation that you don't have to mess with all the time. So I always tell my clients, like, automate it once and let it go. And then if you need to tweak it, you can tweak that automation. But like it's a thing you build versus as it's built, because you're going to run your business differently than I am. Kind of covered that early on. So like I was managing a client yesterday and he's like, hey, help me out with this. So I was kind of going through his messages. So I found like a common theme that happened in his messages. And if you people that text a lot, I'll build it in front of you right here. But this is a simple campaign I made yesterday for one of my accounts that were one of my clients. And it's one of those things where like, it's something that happens repetitively. If you can automate it, you can kind of help solve that issue. So I'm going to show you right here what I made. So we have an inbox that shows all your messages, calls, texts, emails. If anybody responds to any campaign, it all shows up in your inbox. So I'll show you in a second. So if you're texting a lot, your inbox can get pretty full, and it's best to keep that empty because you can make sure you follow up all your clients or all potential sales and leads. So a simple thing I made was we're getting the response of no, okay, thanks all the time for a lot of different customers for different things. So I can do this customer replied action contains phrase, okay, thanks, thank you, do not. So you can put a comma in between each one. Then you can be as specific as far as the reply channel is SMS and the phone number is this number. So now we can be really granular from this campaign that text in from this number that says, okay, thanks, you do not, we're going to do this thing. So you can delete this for every number. And now it's going to do this for every number that texts in, which is what I did yesterday. This action I created was edit conversation. Well, what's edit conversation? It's going to mark as read. Why is that important? If they reply, okay, thanks, do not, or if you want to make like a wrong, people text in wrong number, wrong thing, you can create certain actions around that using this customer reply action. So I do edit conversation and mark as read. Really simple workflow, but all it's going to do is help clean up your inbox automatically. So people send those keywords, it automatically clears the inbox. If I text it in, it's going to mark it as read, and I'm not even going to see it. Mm-hmm. So now I can manage that texting thousands of clients really fast. And if they reply with these keywords, automatically falls off.
Gotcha.
And it's so crazy. And then let's say you want to make another one that does the same thing for a certain number. You can create multiple actions off of, you can do multiple triggers off of that. You can even do exact matches. So exact match is wrong number, and you can do the same thing. So they might text it back, but now we're not even seeing that whole conversation, and it's just going to mark it as read.
Do you know, like, say if you're going to, and I know this is probably impossible to really answer with any precision, but for example, when I look at direct mail, if you're doing everything right, you got the right list, you're saying the right thing, like all this stuff. And obviously this even varies from market to market, but sometimes I'll hear people say, yeah, I get a deal for every 1,000 mailers I send out, or for every 2,000, or for every 500, or whatever, fill in the blank based on the parameters you're trying to do. When you hear from land investors who are doing text campaigns, if they're doing everything right, whatever that means, like what would be, I don't know, some reasonable expectations? Like for every 10,000 people I text, this many people respond and this many deals are closed. Do you have any insight on that? Or is it just a giant question mark? I don't know.
I have clients, and it's going to vary per client. So like I have a client that targets infill lots in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing 20 deals a month, and he only texts maybe like 4,000 people a month.
Gotcha.
It's just because his list pulling, his targeting, his skip tracing is all on point. His campaigns are very dialed in that he's getting really great results with info lots.
Yeah. And that's a hyper competitive market at the time that's recording anyway. So
exactly. And like me, we do large lots all over Texas. So we're targeting everywhere in Texas, and we're just hitting everybody. We really don't care. So like for us, it's going to be a different KPI than him because his is very direct and minute. And this is like comes down to your list and targeting and your skip tracing, because like if you target pre-foreclosures and tax delinquents that are stacked, you're going to get better results in general just because you're texting that really stacked list.
Yeah.
Targeting is really important. Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, compare that to direct mail. Was that like less than half the cost of direct mail when you think of the per? So I know you've got the downloading of the list, you've got the skip tracing of the list, and then I guess in terms of the quality of the information and how many people respond, I mean, I don't know how you even predict that really, but
our deliverability for texting right now is like over 90%. We have some clients that get 95% and over for just like making a list.
It sounds like we've gotten a pretty good look at the texting, capabilities and workflow and that kind of thing. Direct mail, that's not really something you do in Hivemind. When it comes to things like due diligence, so people start responding, you've got a deal on the line, you're starting to pursue it, you're starting to gather information, get pictures, all the property details, in terms of everything you'd have to do to move towards closing. So is that something you handle in Hivemind in terms of creating a new property profile and storing all that information so you can quickly pull up everything about that property, the person, details, all that? What does that look like?
So I'm going to cover it in a couple different ways in a couple different spaces. So I'm going to show you this right here. So let's say you've agreed on a price and you need to do due diligence, or you even need due diligence at a certain point. So you can do, we have like if you're familiar with Trello boards, they have different stages. We have the same thing. We call it pipelines. And you have different pipeline stages you can create. So we can do and you can do this different ways. If a tag, like whenever you hit a certain stage in your pipeline, you can add a tag to do due diligence. So this might be opportunity status changed. And then you can kind of pick, and I'll show you this right here. In pipeline, we're going to do real estate. And then it's going to be moved from status, or it's going to be moved to status, pipeline stage. There we go. So let's say you're under that deal research part. When it reaches to deal research, you can add tasks to your team. Opportunity status filter is required. Okay. So status is open. Okay. So let's say you wanted to send it to a certain team member. You wanted to assign, this would be like the backend automation, assign to user. When it hits a certain stage, you're going to assign it to that user. All right. So say you have assigned a user, and then you create a task. So what's the task? Due diligence, gather pictures, comps, and then assign it to that person, and it's due in a day or whatever. So it's kind of like the backend automation to make sure you can assign it to your team member, your VA, your partner to kind of do that due diligence and make sure it's done. That's kind of like the backend side of it. The other side of it is we have custom fields. So everything you want to save, comps, pictures, contract, you can save it in that contact information. So I'm going to show you over here, custom fields. Most accounts, all accounts have all these fields already built for you, but I'm going to show you really where it comes into. So let's say you wanted to add a new custom field for a contract. You have a file upload, contract. So make sure it's all on one thing. So contracts are going to usually be PDFs, JPEGs, maybe a doc, or you should maybe just hit any. I don't know. You allow multiple of 10 documents or 4 documents, whatever. We're going to save it. So what that does is that gives you, oh, I already have the contract spot already there, contract 2, because it's already there. So each one of the contacts has all these custom fields. So comp 1, comp 2, you can create all those custom fields. So let's go to a random contact. And it follows that lead everywhere it goes. So we're going to hit this fake person, William Howard, additional information. Contract 2 is right there. I just added that custom field. I can add pictures to this. I can add contract end date, all this information you want to keep track of, and then hide empty fields. Any fields you filled in or added to that contact, it's all going to be here. So you have your general contact information is your name, email, phone number, tags that are for that campaign, or tags for that lead, any campaign it's in. General info is going to be the address, street address. Additional info is going to be everything else. So it could be your property address, your mailing address. It could be the contract end date, pictures, contracts, all due diligence, comps, all that good stuff you can add into there. That way it travels with the contact, and whoever is in the underwriting department after the due diligence has been done can go through this and see all that contact information for that contact, and it's all there.
So what if a contact has like 10 properties to sell?
You can put property 1, property 2, property 3, and it's all going to be there.
Okay, so you basically like just duplicate those fields?
No, you create them once. So for instance, they have 10 properties they want to sell, or you come across people that, or you target portfolios. Let's say you target portfolios. I can easily take property 2. So now this is going to be in every contact from here on out, property 2. I can create another one, text, property 3. Boom. So now we have the ability, this is where the customization side of it comes, where you can really kind of create based off of whatever you want to do. You target portfolios, property 5, boom, really build it out. So now if I go to that contact again, all those properties are going to be, all those potential properties are going to be there in that contact and the additional information.
This is kind of a random question out of left field, but you have any insight as to like the average person who comes into Hivemind and they want to start using this, how much time does it take them to like understand what they're doing? Like just getting trained on the software and figure out, here's how I go here and do this and that. I know you do a lot of demos for people and that kind of thing. So do you know how long it is for people to like really have a solid understanding of how to use it?
There's 2 types of personalities. There's techie people and there's not techie people. You're either one or the other. So techie people usually pick it up in about 2 to 3 weeks and they get the basics. Then you have not techie people that they're stuck on this thing for 6 months and don't know what to do. So we have solutions for both of those. One, partner with somebody that's a techie person to kind of help you out, or hire us to do it. And we have the serviceability to kind of people that are older. We work with a lot of older clients. They're like, hey, I know your system's amazing, but I don't even know how to turn my computer on. and it happens. So like we've done it for a couple of elderly clients that we have. We kind of build out their whole system for them, automated whatever they want to do it, and they just operate it from their phone. And they've gotten success with it. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's really based on you and your ability to understand the computing side of the software. So we have training videos on YouTube. I literally talked to a client yesterday. He said his VAs, he literally put them through the training videos, and I usually try and make it like bite size so it's not overwhelming. So like each video is like 10 minutes or under, and they're like, oh, I got it. I watched a training video about this. Let me figure it out. And they'll figure it out just off the training videos. Other times people need like, hey, I don't have time to figure this out. Can you just do this, this, and this? And they'll hire my team to do it, and we'll knock it out. And it's always, there's a book, Who Not How. Sometimes you're best not to do it and learn how to do it and just hire somebody to get it done for you.
How much does that cost to hire you guys to do a thing?
So we charge 10-hour blocks, $20 an hour. And you have the ability to get a discount when you first sign up for $15 an hour. My VA is very proficient, so you can get a lot done in 10 hours. It's like something that might take you an hour, 2 hours to do, he can knock it out in probably 20 minutes, 10 minutes. It's one of those things where like, you really want to focus and learn how to do this yourself, which some people are like, yeah, I want to learn to do it myself. That way I can train my team, manage my team. And if something pops up, I can fix it.
How would a person self-evaluate whether they're a techie person? Because like, I don't really know what I would call myself, probably reasonably proficient, but like I was working with just like literally today, I'm working with a consultant I'm paying to help me set up some tracking stuff on my website. And I don't understand 80% of what he's telling me. Like, I don't know if it's because he's so bad at explaining it or because I'm so dumb, but there's a huge disconnect. So like, I thought I was techie, but I guess I'm not, according to this guy. So how would a person know with Hivemind, how smart do you have to be to figure it out?
So there's levels to this, and I think I'm similar to you. Like I am not like a coding person because that's like a super techie person.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I do not code. I call my brother for that. He's the coder. So it's one of those things where like if you have basic technology skills, you can learn the system in 2 weeks or less, and it's pretty easy to understand. Like, and to put this in simple terms, I had a guy, Matt Rogers. He does land investing all over Florida, Texas, and he's out of California. He's like, all I want to do is learn how to text. I'm like, all right. I showed him just what I did right there, how to create a text campaign. He's been a client for over a year. That's all he does in the system. He does not do anything else. Picked up a contract in 4 days, just texting, using the system with a basic knowledge of how to text. So if you get anything from the video, watch just the texting part and you can get success with it, because we have clients that just do that part of it and they get success with it.
Yeah. And that was to date, after this is my third call now, doing Hivemind stuff. And that's been my biggest takeaway too, is just texting alone is a huge value that I know there's other places you can go to do it and that kind of thing. That's fine. But having that, and if you want, due diligence is all wrapped into the same system. Just being able to put a lot under one roof if you want to, but even if you don't, just that texting capability and the automated workflow thing is pretty useful for sure.
And like, there's a lot of automations too that you can create to like no lead left behind, that you're following up with clients after 6 months, no matter what happens. Where imagine you have a list of 20,000 people. It's impossible just to keep track of 20,000 people. But if you follow up with them every 30 to 60 days, you're not going to miss those opportunities. And with real estate, it's all about timing. You don't have to be the best negotiator, the best systems person, the best everything. As long as you're there when they want to sell with the right timing, you're going to get that deal every time, whether you're a good negotiator or not.
When it comes to the process of actually making an offer, like sending a contract, or even go to the next step of, say, if you wanted to self-close a deal, does Hivemind, like what parts of that process does Hivemind handle or not handle? So
we integrate with Zapier. Zapier is the bridge to everything else. If you understand technology a little bit, Zapier, it connects with like 30,000 different apps. You can set up your thing in DocuSign or any other electronic signature platform where, hey, first name goes here, last name goes here, property information goes here. And you can zap that information whenever you're ready to sign to DocuSign, and then it pre-fills it, double check it, and just hit send.
Do you have videos explaining how that works in terms of how to get Zapier involved and hook up DocuSign, that kind of thing?
Zapier is one of those things where, like, if I created a video for every app that connected to Zapier, it's one of those things where if you understand it and do it, go ahead and do it yourself. If you want to mess with it, please contact our team and we'll make sure it's done right. Because Zapier is one of those finicky things where you have to do certain things certain ways, and there's just so many variations of it. It's impossible to make one video covering how to use Zapier, because Zapier is its own monster.
Yeah. So is it safe to say that if the thing you're trying to get to work with Hivemind is available on Zapier, you can probably make it work? Like, is 100%. That a safe assumption? Okay.
100%. Zapier I made a Zapier. Whenever a new client joins, if you go to my Twitter, there's a text that goes out. So Seth from Phoenix just signed up for Hivemind, is taking his business to the next level. That's Hivemind to Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Cool, man. And then, so I guess in terms of like closing and coordination, that's probably not really what Hivemind's all about. It's more about, I guess, if you wanted to create the contract or the deed or something like that, you could probably, I don't even know about the deed. That's not like a DocuSign thing. That's more of a, you'd have to have the template ready to go. And, but there's probably a way to make that work, right?
There's a way to make everything work. It's just taking the steps to do it. So
yeah,
everything is essentially, and like I say that loosely because like I have clients that like this can replace Podio, and I have clients that still use this with Podio for whatever reason. Like, they're their own business. And they like Podio for that part of their business, and that's what they use it for. Yeah. Like I'm not going to stop, and that's one of the amazing parts of it. I have over 300 clients. They probably all use it differently.
Gotcha. Now, moving on to like the sales side of things. I know you guys have selling websites you can set up, which obviously you can create property listings, put pictures in there, all this stuff. In terms of like making, I don't know, say making it easy to create a listing that you could then post on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or anything like that. Like just in general, the whole selling side of stuff, dispositioning, getting properties moved. Is it kind of mostly tied in with the website functionality? Is there any other features or tools that Hivemind can assist with in that process?
Texting. That's how we sell deals right now. We just text. We have a buyer's list and we text the buyer's list. So,
okay. and who is that buyer's list made up of? Like who gets on that list?
Probably giving too much juice, but it's agents.
Agents. Oh,
we sell our properties. Our buyer's list is literally agent list, and we sell our properties to agents at retail. Like we don't sell to builders or nothing. We just sell to retail buyers.
So, okay. So you're saying when you text blast on the selling side, you're sending it to agents who might have land buyers that they can bring into the picture?
100%.
Okay. Gotcha. Is that like, say if the property is in New Jersey or something, are you just sending to New Jersey agents, or how do you decide which agents they go to? Okay.
Yes. Right now, you can buy a list of agents. I sell a list of agents in Texas that you can buy, but we're working on getting all 50 states list of agents. That way you can sell your property retail to agents directly, because agents always throw in, we'll pay you a 3.5% commission if you have a buyer for this. And they're like, they jump and do backflips for you. It's pretty fun.
Is that for land or houses or anything?
Land.
Wow,
we sell land and houses through our agent text blast, and we hit everybody up. We sold a property yesterday in one day through our agent.
Nice. Cool. Interesting.
And we had an agent text back. He's like, I wanted more information. I'm like, you got to move quicker than that because the gut's gone.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Now I know some CRMs have some functionality when it comes to seller financing, which is a big deal with vacant land in particular. Is that, am I correct in assuming that's not really something that Hivemind does, right? Like you don't collect payments, you don't create amortization schedules, that's just not part of it.
No. We don't do any of that. We actually do. So one of the cool things about our community is that we're in the business ourselves. So like that's where Anthony comes in. Like if you want him to negotiate a deal or figure out profitable terms, we literally interviewed a client yesterday, and he asked Anthony. It was a dead land deal for him. And he's like, Anthony, can you help me see if you can make something out of it? And he ended up creating seller finance terms, and he agreed to it with like $10,000 down. And that's where Anthony comes in on the real estate side. So like a lot of what we provide is the network and that side of it that it's just not a CRM. Like there's so many people that take advantage of that networking side and negotiation side from Anthony that we help a lot of people with their business in general.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you know on the texting stuff? So you guys, you can and you do track delivery rates, right?
Yes.
Okay. So like, does that just show up somewhere in your account so you can understand how successful your campaign was, or?
Let me see if I can show you here.
And do you have spinning tokens?
What's that mean?
I was hoping you would know. Somebody was asking me if Hivemind has spinning tokens. Apparently, tokens are something that launch control can use to automatically avoid getting flagged as spam because of the same message going out. So maybe that's like a randomizer where it like changes up the message automatically or something. I don't know. Nothing
All
like
right,
that.
so here's this. We have bulk actions. This is under contacts, bulk actions. Let me see if I can find it. This is all your importing, exporting, campaign analytics. Let me see if I can find one. And then we also have a reporting tab that shows your Google ads, Facebook ads, call reporting, agent reporting, and text reporting, and appointments too, if you do that. So call reporting has your, you can see your videos, how many missed calls, average call duration. So if you're monitoring that stuff, it's all there. Let me back out of here and see if I can show you a campaign that we did that shows all the analytics for you. Because it's one of those, that's the dummy account, so it's not going to show it. So I'm doing a campaign right now that I'm texting like 12,000 people over like the next 10 days. And I'll show you that where it's at in its current status. So this is in our account. So we're texting almost 12,000 people, 660 deliver, we're at 6%. So it's metered per hour. And this is that drip mode campaign that's going out in this campaign.
You're saying of the 11,825, 660 have been sent, and of that,
yep,
and of that 660,
none of them married.
So that 5.58%, is that of the 660 or is that of the 11,000?
That's 11,000.
Okay, so it's actually not a complete picture yet, right?
Yeah, it's not a complete picture yet. Like I said, this is to go over 2 weeks, and it's in drip mode, so it's just going to go. So if I check this a week from now, it might be like 80% or 90%.
Okay, gotcha.
And that's one of the things, like I have it metered out, and then my team responds to it as it goes, so it kind of keeps them busy throughout the day. And that's one of the reasons why I like drip mode.
Gotcha. Do you know, like in that texting process, I realize with all these automations, you can be like, yeah, text them on day one. If they don't respond, do it again on day two, and then blah, 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 and get email involved and cold calling. At what point is a lead just a dead lead? Like, just give up. They're not responding. Like, how do you gauge, or what's a reasonable amount that you should pursue somebody before stopping?
I don't.
I mean, do you know, like, any examples of other people who do it, or I don't know, any rules of thumb to go by?
So I talked to my client yesterday, and it's fresh in mind because I asked him this question. And what he does is he texts everybody. Everybody's on follow-up campaign, even if they cuss them out or whatever. Hey, I caught you at a bad time. Last time is now a better time, and that's his follow-up message. If they cuss them out, and even to the point where if they negatively bounce out, he'll download that list and hit them from another number. No one leaves his drip campaign.
Yeah. So it kind of, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but just compared to what I've heard of from other texting platforms like Launch Control, or even the skip tracing thing, how like with Direct Skip, how they have this DNC filter where you can get rid of people. It kind of feels like Hivemind is, I don't know what the right word is, like the Wild West in terms of like, you can do whatever you want. Like you can go knock yourself out, get yourself sued. Doesn't really matter. Like it's up to you to figure that out and do it on your own. There's not really any safeguards in place, which, as you alluded to before, like it could be a good or bad thing. Like it's good if you know what you're doing, but it's bad if you don't know what you're doing and you get yourself in trouble. Is that accurate, or am I misunderstanding that?
We've been around 1.5 years, and none of my clients have been sued. So as much as we're the Wild Wild West, when somebody gets sued, I'll let you know. But it's one of those things where, like, if the Wild Wild West, if it's the Wild Wild West and there's no sheriffs, I mean, go do what you want.
Yeah. Well, like I know with like a ringless voicemail, for example, that's another thing where there's different legislation in every state. In some states you can do it, some states you can't. Are there any safeguards in place for that if a person wants to go down that road?
As far as I know, it's all federal. There's no individual state mandates.
I think like Florida has something. If I remember, this was like over 1 year ago when I heard this, but I mean, I guess point is, because that works through Twilio. Is that right? Is that what's hooked up to Hivemind? Is it the same for texting as well, or is Twilio just the ringless voicemail piece of it?
Twilio is our phone system, texting, calling, call recording, calling in general, dialer, all that's done inside of it.
Okay. But is that a similar thing where it's like, just do whatever you want, who knows what'll happen? Or is it like, nope, you can't do that in this state, so don't do it?
No, Twilio is a publicly traded company. They're worth billions of dollars.
Mhm.
And they're the wild, wild west too. Twilio doesn't care in general. They're
Mhm.
just, they abide by the federal laws that they are under, because they service millions of thousands of clients, maybe millions of clients, who knows. But it's one of those things where they're the wild, wild west too. Like I said, we don't like putting that parameter on people, just because it's one of those things where, like, you have an upper hand if we're not suppressing.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Gotcha. No, that makes sense. I feel like there's more I should be asking. There's more to go. And and maybe that's the one thing is, I know we sort of flew through a lot of stuff here in this video and didn't get super deep on each individual thing, get lost in the weeds. But would you say most people who sign up for Hivemind, like, does everybody kind of need more help to figure it out? Or these techie people that we talked about, are they literally able to do it all themselves and just knock themselves out? Or are people kind of stuck until they can take training and get more help from people like you?
So there's two answers to that question. So some clients, they come in and I don't hear from them. I've had a client for 9 months, just interviewed him. I'd never spoken to him before.
Mhm.
At a $200,000 a month, never spoken to him before. Using Hivemind.
Yeah.
I'm like, where'd you come from? He's like, I've been a client for 9 months. I'm like, okay, sweet.
Mhm. Yeah, cool.
Never messaged support, did nothing. His name never came up till right now, and he had a big win to proclaim. And then I have other clients that they kind of fizzle out and cancel for whatever reason, and we're always trying to figure out what happened.
Mhm.
But it's one of those things, like, if you don't say you have a problem, we don't know you have a problem.
Mhm.
It's just, we don't know you have a problem. So we're really good on support. I think we take our support very seriously. If you have a question about anything, I told you this when you came in, if you have a question about anything, text this number. Somebody will reply to you within 24 hours, Monday to Friday. And if it's the weekend, sometimes we'll wait till Monday. But hopefully we'll get support Sunday to Saturday at some point. But right now it's Monday to Friday. If you have any questions about anything, somebody will answer that question, whether you're a client or not.
Given that Hivemind is so strong on the texting, emailing, all that stuff, if somebody has the mindset of like, I'm only direct mail and that's all I do, is that a kind of person who probably shouldn't be using Hivemind? Because there's like, they're not really getting it. Like, that's not really what Hivemind is.
Strong. It's even the website side of it. I mean, you have to have a website, especially if you're doing direct mail. If you don't have a website and you direct mail, you're missing opportunity there. So you have to have a website, and you always have to have call tracking. We do both of those. Pretty easy to set up, pretty easy to do. And whether you're just doing direct mail, that's all you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, myself included, like, they aren't really tracking stuff, and they aren't doing this because, like, they don't realize they even can. They're using systems that just don't offer it. So it's not even on the radar. Like, oh, I can be doing that, or it's actually this easy to do it. It feels complicated, so they just ignore it. And the way this works is, whether you're doing a free trial or whatever, with Hivemind, you're paying this monthly fee for just access to Hivemind in general, but then you have to put in your credit card number, and then you get charged on a per use basis for all of this stuff.
Not only the phone system.
Okay. And that includes ringless voicemail, texting, also like downloading a list, skip tracing, like that's all per use charges as well, right?
Yeah.
If you use that for Hivemind.
If you use it. So, like, we have clients that they'll come in, and I had a client that, like, oh, I'm building a website for my sister who does this thing. I'm like, whatever, go ahead. Like, they have that website capability. They can do unlimited websites, unlimited users. Some programs, they charge you per user, where, like, once you get over 3 users, it's $15 per person. It's one of those things where, like, you really have free reign to do whatever you want and how you want to do it.
Are there people who use Hivemind that aren't in real estate at all? Or
yes.
Is this, like, what other kind of businesses would use this?
Coaching, notary. The backbone of every business is a CRM. So we can work with any type of client, no matter what. And if you're listening to this and you have multiple businesses, or you do something else besides real estate, we help you no matter what. Like, there's a calendars feature that podcasters use. There's a course side that people sell courses on. That's all internally. You can send invoices if you're like a lawn care company or car sales. You can text invoices from the app or from the desktop. Google My Business, forms, intake, surveys, qualify, disqualify. We have a client that uses it for landlording to disqualify tenants and builds automation around that back end. to sort and filter title tenants. We have a social media posting ability. If you want to make posts on social media, that's new stuff coming up. There's just a lot of intricacies and back end stuff that I didn't even mention this, but for me, I operate 3 different businesses from 3 different accounts, all using this, and they all use a different level of sophistication because based on that business.
Sweet. Well, Daniel, I appreciate your time and showing us how Hivemind works. And again, I kind of say that tongue in cheek because there's a whole lot to learn about Hivemind that we didn't really cover here, but at least the basics and the essentials of, how the texting process works and the automated workflows. And there's a lot here, especially if you decide to go down the texting route, which I think time of this recording is still a newer thing that some people are probably either hesitant to do because it feels new and scary and intimidating and all this stuff. But it seems to be not that difficult. I mean, just in terms of keeping everything under one roof and making it palatable. If you do want to get into that whole thing, it seems like a decent place to start learning that anyway.
There's a lot of competitors out there, but I think it's definitely a thing of the future that if you're stuck doing things a certain way, like one of the worst things for an investor to do is get outpaced and outdated because it's really hard to come back from that. I talked to a land investor here in California, and he's been out of the game for like 15 years. So like the things change over time, and you always have to adapt and adjust to see what's working in different ways. So if you're not up to date with the times, you're going to get left behind.
Makes total sense. Awesome. Well, I'm going to include links to Hivemind. REtipster does have an affiliate link to that system. And also, I'm going to link to the Hivemind YouTube playlist where they show a lot of training for how Hivemind works. I actually found that really helpful myself, just in like kind of mapping it out mentally. Like, okay, I get it. So anyway, that could be a helpful thing as well. But yeah, I appreciate it, Daniel, and we'll stay in touch.
All right. Thank you.
Yep, you bet.
All right, folks, there you have it. That was the demo with Daniel. I hope you found some value and just education through that process. I think my final thoughts on Hivemind is kind of like I mentioned in the little tutorial that Daniel gave us. It just strikes me how much you can do with Hivemind. Like there is so much stuff you can do, but you don't have to do all of it with Hivemind. You could just utilize texting and that's it if you wanted to. But if I was starting over today and if texting was going to be part of my repertoire or even emailing and that kind of thing, I can definitely see a pretty solid case for why Hivemind would be a really useful tool to have. In terms of things that kind of made me step back and go, wow, it was just like how there aren't a whole lot of restrictions in place. Like you could very well text the wrong thing to the wrong person and, have some kind of liability on your hands. According to Daniel, it doesn't sound like that happens a lot, if ever. But if you're somebody who is concerned about that, just be aware you're going to want to understand your own limitations of what you should or shouldn't be doing with Hivemind before you start using it, because they're not going to hold you back from that. Overall, I think it's definitely a solid contender, at least when you look at all the different other CRM systems out there. And the one thing, again, that makes it super unique is that direct mail is not an assumption that they make in terms of what you're going to be using for your marketing. They don't even really serve that very well at all. And I think the cool thing is whatever third-party apps you're using, if they do happen to work with Zapier, and many of them do these days, you should be in business. Hope you found this helpful. I wish you all the best as you're making your decision on which one of these, if any, that you should be using. Thanks for watching. See ya.